Ladies and gentlemen, the only thing standing between you and the life you've been dreaming of is not your circumstances, not your past, not your failures. It's your fear of failure. That voice in your head that whispers, "What if I try and it doesn't work out? What will they think of me?" That voice is a liar. That voice is not your destiny. I want to tell you something straight from the heart. Success is not about never falling down. It's about what you do when you fall. Because you will fall. You will stumble. You will fail. But the question is, will you stay down? Or will you rise again, stronger, sharper, and hungrier? As Nelson Mandela once said, "I never lose. I either win or learn." That, my friends, is the mindset that separates the average from the extraordinary. The truth is, failure is not your enemy. It's your greatest teacher. The only thing you need to delete from your life is the belief that failure defines you. Failure does not define you. Your response to failure does. So many of us are paralyzed because we're chasing perfection. We want the perfect timing, the perfect conditions, the perfect plan. Let me ask you something. How many opportunities have you let slip because you were waiting for things to be perfect? Listen what I tell you. Perfection is an illusion. Progress is real. Tony Robbins often says, "Progress equals happiness." He's right. You want to feel alive? Stop obsessing over being flawless and start celebrating every step forward you take. 1 step, 2 steps. Even if you fall back 1, you're still moving forward. Think of a baby learning to walk. They don't fall once and say, "Well, walking's not for me." And oh, they stumble, they wobble, they hit the floor, they cry, and then they get back up. Step by step, fall by fall, they master it. That's life. That's success. That's growth. I want to say about resilience, because success isn't about talent alone. It isn't about luck alone. It's about mindset. It's about how many times you can get knocked down and keep coming back. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Every obstacle you face is not there to stop you. It's there to shape you. That failure, that rejection, that closed door, that's the gym where your resilience is trained. You think Michael Jordan never failed? In fact, he said it best himself. "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed." Resilience isn't about never feeling pain. It's about using that pain to push forward. It's about saying, "This failure is feedback. This pain is fuel. This rejection is redirection." Action is the antidote to fear. You cannot think your way out of fear. You can only act your way through it. You fear failure because you're standing still, staring at the mountain. But the moment you take that first step, boom, the fear loses power. You take the second step and it loses more power. Consistent action turns fear into confidence. Denzel Washington once said, "Without commitment, you'll never start. But more importantly, without consistency, you'll never finish." Consistency is where the magic happens. It's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing something daily. It's about building momentum brick by brick, day by day. You don't build a wall overnight. You lay one brick as perfectly as you can today, and tomorrow another and another. Over time, you have a fortress. And that fortress is your character, your resilience, your destiny. I know you want to change the story you've been telling yourself about failure. Most people see failure as the end. But failure is not the period at the end of the sentence. It's the comma. It's the pause before the breakthrough. Thomas Edison, when asked how he felt about failing thousands of times to create the light bulb, said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Do you see it? Failure was not the enemy. It was the PATH. It was the feedback. It was the stepping stone. Every time you fail, life is teaching you something. Adjust your AIM, refine your approach, strengthen your spirit. If you embrace failure as a teacher, not a threat, you will grow faster, stronger, and smarter than you ever imagined. Understand this. Success begins in your mind long before it shows up in your life. You must win the inner game before you win the outer game. If you let fear dominate your inner world, your outer world will always reflect that fear. Henry Ford once said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." Success is about mastering that inner conversation. It's about deleting the lie of fear and installing the truth of faith, resilience, and unstoppable determination. The greatest battles are not fought on the outside, they're fought within. And the moment you decide to stop letting fear dictate your steps, you win. Years ago, a young man from Philadelphia dreamed of being an actor. But he had a speech impediment, and people laughed at him. He was broke, he was struggling, and at one point he sold his dog because he couldn't afford to feed him. That man was Sylvester Stallone. He wrote a script, Rocky, but every studio turned him down. They said his writing was fine, but his face, his voice, no way. They offered to buy the script if someone else played the lead, but Stallone refused. He failed. He failed. He failed. Over 1,000 rejections. But he didn't give up. Finally, a small studio took a chance on him. Rocky was made, and the rest is history. That film won 3 Academy Awards and turned Stallone into a legend. Now imagine if he had let the fear of failure stop him. Imagine if he'd listened to those who laughed at him. We wouldn't have Rocky. We wouldn't have Rambo. We wouldn't have that iconic line, "Yo, Adrian!" Stallone once said, "I take rejection as someone blowing a bugle in my ear to wake me up and get going, rather than retreat." That's resilience. That's redefining failure. I don't just want you to hear these words. I want you to feel them. I want you to carry them. I want you to live them. Close your eyes for a second and imagine the version of yourself without fear. The version of you that acts boldly, speaks confidently, takes risks courageously. That version of you is already inside. You don't need to find it. You need to release it. I remind you, progress, not perfection. You might not run a marathon today, but can you lace up your shoes and walk 1 mile? That's progress. You might not launch your dream business tomorrow, but can you sketch your idea on paper tonight? That's progress. Every giant oak tree started as a seed. Every skyscraper started as a blueprint. Every champion started as a beginner who refused to stop. I know people who are waiting for the stars to align, waiting for someone to hand them the perfect opportunity. But life doesn't reward waiting, it rewards moving. When you move, doors open. When you move, people appear. When you move, momentum builds. As Confucius said, it does not matter how slowly you go as long as you do not stop. Think of resilience as your emotional immune system. Just like your body gets stronger by fighting off small infections, your spirit grows stronger by surviving small failures. Psychologists call it anti-fragility. You don't just resist pressure, you grow because of it. Just like a muscle tears under strain and rebuilds stronger, your mind and spirit toughen every time you rise from a setback. Resilience means you stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What can I learn?" Resilience means you stop fearing the storm and start becoming the storm. As Maya Angelou said, "You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated." In fact, it may be necessary to encounter the defeats so you can know who you are, what you can rise from, how you can still come out of it. Fear feeds on inaction. When you sit still, when you overthink, when you hesitate, fear grows like a shadow at sunset. But every action you take, every phone call, every workout, every email, every step, shrinks that shadow. You want to kill fear? Starve it. And you starve it by taking action every single day. Will Smith once said, "The only thing that I see that is distinctly different about me is I'm not afraid to die on a treadmill." If we get on the treadmill together, there are two things. You're getting off first, or I'm going to die. That's consistency. That's commitment. That's the power of showing up daily, no matter how you feel. Success doesn't come to those who do it once in a while. Success comes to those who make it a lifestyle. The truth is, failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. Imagine a scientist in a lab. They mix chemicals, they test, they experiment. Do you think every experiment works? No. Most fail. But those failures aren't wasted. They are data. They are clues. They are stepping stones. So why don't we see our lives the same way? Why don't we treat every failure as feedback instead of as final? The great author J.K. Rowling said, "It is impossible to live without failing at something unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all." Think about that. If you never fail, it means you never tried. And if you never tried, you never lived. You want to change your life? Start with your thoughts. Success is 80% psychology and 20% mechanics. You can know the strategies, the techniques, the tools, but if your mind is trapped in fear, you'll sabotage yourself before you even begin. You have to learn to speak power into your life. Stop saying I can't. Start saying, I will. Stop saying, I'm not ready. Start saying, I'll figure it out. Your beliefs are like software running in the background. If you program fear, you'll live in fear. If you program courage, you'll live in courage. As James Allen wrote in As a Man Thinketh, you are today where your thoughts have brought you. You will be tomorrow where your thoughts take you. Win the inner game, and the outer game will take care of itself. Let's talk about Oprah Winfrey. Today, she's one of the most influential women in the world. But early in her career, she was fired from her job as a TV news anchor because she was told she was unfit for television. That could have been the end of her story. She could have accepted the judgment of others and let fear of more rejection stop her. But she didn't. She shifted her focus, she trusted her instincts, and she found her voice. That so-called failure became the seed of her success. Oprah went on to create the Oprah Winfrey Show, which ran for 25 years and inspired millions around the globe. Oprah once said, "Think like a queen. A queen is not afraid to fail. Failure is another stepping stone to greatness." Her story proves this truth. Failure is not fatal. Rejection is not the end. They are simply redirections to where you truly belong. So what does this mean for you? It means you have to stop waiting, stop hesitating, and stop fearing. Take the shot. Write the book. Make the call. Launch the business. Tell them you love them. Step onto that stage. Yes, you might fail. Yes, people might laugh. Yes, it might hurt. But what's the alternative? To live safe, small, and invisible? To let fear dictate your destiny? Les Brown, the great motivational speaker, said it best. Too many of us are not living our dreams because we are living our fears. Don't let fear steal your life. Don't let fear steal your future. Don't let fear steal your destiny. My friends, you don't need permission to succeed. You don't need approval to live boldly. You don't need certainty to move forward. All you need is the courage to act, the resilience to rise, the vision to see failure as feedback, and the mindset to win the inner game. You are enough. You are stronger than your failures. You are greater than your fears. So go out there, fail boldly, rise courageously, live fully. Because when you give your all, when you refuse to bow to fear, when you embrace progress, resilience, consistency, and courage, you have already won.